Okay, well, first of all, I apologize because since Wednesday at 4:30, I have none of my work product or computer, so I haven't been able to access any of this information, so this will all be done by memory. So the numbers will be approximates, they won't be specific that are written in my work product that I had to leave behind when I was asked to leave. But all 6 of these items on the agenda for new business all come from my first week in office and my findings of what I've found so far. And not to be overly redundant during this process, I'm going to kind of give a general statement up front, and then we'll deal with each one. The general statement, so I don't have to repeat it over and over and over, is my findings of doing some spot checks in some different areas is I found either no controls in place, improper controls in place, incomplete controls, or non-enforced controls. That also goes for the policies and the procedures and the workflows that go with those controls. And that also includes oversight and managing those previous tasks that I've mentioned. The combination of all those things led to some real interesting information. This was not hard information to find, but I'll back up a little bit. There has been some lack of work in the office, not because of the staff. They've been outstanding with what they've been dealt with, but with your situation before I arrived with different auditors and some of the things that have taken place. Just a quick spot check on a high level. We'll start with the credit cards. I don't have a paper one, so I got to keep on opening up my phone. Your credit card policy is completely broken. You have one credit card for the whole county. The way they handle that is they keep the credit card in the auditor's office, and then they give out the number over the phone, via email, written or copied down, or it's saved in different employees' internet browsers. So every time one of my staff members are trying to reconcile a monthly bill, they have 100 potential different employees they have to talk to try to figure out whose department made that expenditure. Every month we have expenditures that are never reconciled because no one will admit that they purchased them. It's so unbelievable. If I didn't see it myself, I wouldn't know how to react. So I was in the process of working. I contacted all 3 local banks, and one of them came up with a solution that wouldn't cost us a monthly fee for the cards. And I was working towards a solution to let every elected official and every department head have their own credit card that they manage for their staff. With your credit card purchases, the balances range the different months. You're as low as $1,000 some months, you're over $5,000 some months. I believe 80% of your departments could survive with a credit card with a credit limit of $500 and not be in danger of going over. And we can let the elected officials pick the number they feel comfortable with, because they're going to be the ones that's going to be responsible for it. I don't want to dictate what anyone else is doing, so I want to make sure they're comfortable. One thing I didn't touch on is if you have to travel out of town with the credit card, you come to the auditor's office and get it. So thankfully, I guess you haven't ever had anybody, 2 people travel to 2 different locations. So you've avoided that problem. So in this credit card policy, my suggestion would be all department heads and elected officials would get their own. They'd be responsible for their own. They would set the credit limit to their desire, and they would reconcile their own monthly credit card purchases. Now, the type of purchases we need to look at, I noticed software in several of them. Now, some of that's out of our IT provider. There's some software that you have to buy individually because it's a one-off, stuff like that. That's acceptable, but if it's something the IT provider provides or can provide, we need to be looking at that instead of the credit card purchases. One thing I would like to see also with this credit card policy is the auditor's office, we would look at a business prime account. Right now we just have a normal account, so we're not getting the best pricing at all for the county when we purchase office supplies.
Our Amazon account, you mean, is not
Yes.
a Prime account?
Or business.
So we're
So
not
we're
getting all
missing
those
out on a
points.
lot of discounts and lower prices.
Can you go through GSA?
You can, but you gotta also ask yourself, is the extra work to do the paperwork and the process worth the squeeze? There's a term, because our expenditures are pretty low. So you really gotta start looking. If it's gonna take a staff person 10 hours to do that, I'm looking at $350 of just staff time, and that's 10 hours they're not doing something else, when we're looking at maybe $1,000 worth of purchases over the year. And we're looking at a 10%, 5% savings. You really have to balance those different options to see what's the best way to go forward. But my suggestion would be, once all the credit cards come in, the auditor would log all those credit cards to the department on Amazon. So if there's an Amazon purchase to be made, it would be made through the auditor's office with an email. The clerk can pick on the correct card for that department, that purchase, and we'd manage the one business account to make sure we got the best pricing across the board.
So by having it all on one prime account, it leverages savings across all the departments? Is that what you're
Correct.
saying?
Well, with volume, and if we go with a business, it would get us lower prices too.
Okay,
And with, I don't know about you guys, but I have a business account for my stuff, and I have different credit cards because I use for different businesses and different purchases. So having multiple credit cards on there and manage them is easy enough. We can make sure that association's made when purchases are done.
So are you tied into a contract like this time? Because let's say the auditor's office finds, this happened to me, paper on sale at the dime store, half the price of what they had contracted for. Can they go off of that and go buy it way cheaper?
Well, you're only buying on Amazon when you choose to. If you find other things, you
Okay,
can
so
purchase
you're
it
gonna find
anywhere
it
else.
cheaper, all right.
Right. Yeah, that wouldn't prohibit anybody from doing something cheaper.
Find it cheaper.
Just because we have a prime account doesn't mean we have to buy from them. It's just we want to leverage that account to get the best deal
I get it.
for us. So, going from my memory, that's about the best I can tell you in the credit card. I do have a solution in place. I just need authorization to move forward on that, so if you want to discuss. And then I'll contact the bank, and we'll have to do a survey with all the department heads and elected officials to make sure they have enough credit cards, because there's a couple departments that are large. They might use it more, like the sheriff's department and secondary roads. Maybe they want to, or, so I don't know. That'd be an answer for
We'd have to
those
change our
elected
laws.
official and department heads.
I would venture to say the board doesn't need credit cards as elected
Yeah,
officials.
no.
The other elected officials, yeah, they have departments they're running, but there's no reason for the board to have our own credit cards.
no.
But everyone else, I agree.
The auditor's
It's
office
gonna-
usually makes the purchases on our behalf, and then they just put it against our budget line item.
Okay.
And
So,
it should be infrequent.
And that would be easy enough. We can manage yours.
and we don't really do a lot, so. So
I just buy my own stuff.
we would have to do a policy change for credit cards if we were to move forward. So what we probably ask from you is kind of a detail of what you want to do, and then we can put it into our resolution, and then we can approve that as a board, and then you can move forward with that. Okay.
Not to overspeak, but secondary roads kind of does their own thing.
Yeah,
They
and
have
it
their
works
own-
well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it doesn't have to be mandated.
No.
Okay.
All right. The second thing is a purchase and bid policy. I did not find a purchase bid policy in place. This brings up concern on, are we leveraging the county's position when we purchase higher dollar items and even the smaller dollar items? For instance, what is a threshold the county would see fit to have 3 bids? Because when you're dealing with vendors, and a lot of times I found when I was in government and we were purchasing, if the vendor had something that was within 15-20% of our 3-bid rule, miraculously, that vendor always found a way to get that price down underneath that 3-bid rule, automatically saving us that 15-20%. So you can leverage those policies to your advantage, save money, and be more efficient with the tax dollars. So there needs to be something in writing about how department heads and executive elected officials approach that. Now, I understand they don't have to follow those policies, they're their own entity in that sense, but we can set a guidelines at a county of what we believe should be followed.
Is
So-
that something you could write for us for the board to consider?
All this work products, 85% done on a computer I no longer have. So when I get it, we'll pick it back up. Again, I'm doing this from memory because all my work product and equipment was taken on Wednesday afternoon.
Okay. Okay.
How many days did you actually have in the office where you actually had a desk?
I didn't get a desk till Thursday,
And then you left it, so not even a week.
Good.
less than a week. I had Thursday, Friday. I had a temporary desk that I sat at, extremely uncomfortable. It was about this big. I looked like the guy in The Incredibles. You know, I'm just glad you guys didn't give me a car because I'm sure I looked like a train sticker. So yeah, so I had my desk, which I bought with my own money, and my own chair, and my own computer monitors. So they were large enough for spreadsheets and doing the financial work that's going to be required. That all got delivered Thursday, set up Thursday. So Thursday, half day
This past
Thursday.
Thursday before.
Thursday before, half day Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, then Wednesday I was exited. So 4.5 working days. So back to this purchase policy. There's several different aspects with this. We have the higher item dollars, the 3 bids. Now that 3 bid can be triggered at several different sets. You know, 3 bids, let's say 1,000 to 10,000. The department head's responsible for reaching out to vendors they know that carry that product. Maybe at 10,000 above, you put out public notice. You know, you have to set those numbers, but we want to make sure the bidding process is as clear and advantageous to the county as it can be. I've dealt with these purchasing deals with large cities where they have a purchasing department that has more employees than this county does. And so you're dealing with bureaucrats that have no idea what the end customer is trying to buy, but they're making the standards, and the standards do not meet the end requirements. So you have a lot of departments that'll buy junk the first time because that's what the specs showed, only to spend that taxpayer money again as that equipment's being put in a closet to do it right the second time. And I want to avoid that. So that's going to take elected official and department heads input and the subject matter experts at the level that they want to purchase to be involved in that process so we know they're getting what they want to get. So that's the big items. Now we got the issues with the small items. One of the disturbing things I found was there was no buy local, shop local policy in the county. I'm a firm believer of you shop in your own town, your own county. We have, you know, a lot of different options here. We have stores that can 24-hour stuff in, so we don't need to be sending somebody up to the cities to buy something unless it's an absolute emergency and we can't live without it. Then there's the balance of that spending the money. We don't want to pick winners and losers. You know, we have, and I'm just going off, you know, 3 kind of identical stores. We have a hardware store in Maryland, we have a hardware store here in Winterset, we have Baumgart's, which all have some items that are the same. So you'd want to approach it as you're trying to equally spend the money in there. Now, the argument comes up, well, sometimes local is more expensive. True, very true. But how expensive it is for a county vehicle to run up to Des Moines for an hour one way, buy the items there, saving 5-10%, and then driving back. Because we're not counting that downtime and the drive up and back. So you have to set a price of what would be acceptable price percentage overage to buy local and not go outside of town.
Well, when you buy local, you get the loss tax and you keep jobs in your county.
Correct. And that's why I'm a firm believer in focusing our attention to that. But you're going to have to make that decision on where that price point is for you.
Where the break even is.
Yes. But what you believe the break even is, maybe it's a little bit above break even, because you got to remember you're getting taxes back.
Okay.
Or is it simply a matter of stating if it's available locally, you need to choose that option first?
No, not
Well,
if it's
no, we
too
can't
much.
do that because it might be more.
It could be
The
double.
thresholds. Yeah, we've got to factor in several things.
You got to balance it with the,
Yeah.
the cost effectiveness of how it's all going to work
But
out.
often if you ask them,
They'll
they'll
match.
give you a break, because I trees for cheese.
So is that something you could assist?
Again, that work product's pretty much created. It's on my computer that I don't have. I haven't had access to since last Wednesday.
Okay.
All right. All right, the next one. This one's huge. Number 3, the payroll software. Currently, right now, the different departments are filling out payroll in different forms, Excel sheets, different formats. They're taking care of all their employees' hours. And then that all gets emailed to the auditor's office, where all those forms of different formatting in different locations for information is printed off, and the payroll clerk has to go through each one. We have duplicate data entry of the information. So you're increasing the human error, which occurs even if at a 1% rate, we have 100 employees, we're gonna have one payroll that's gonna be wrong every pay period. Just going off the averages. It adds about 10 hours of the payroll clerk's time to print these off and to re-enter them into the system. That alone, I do have this one note. That alone is costing us about $8,500 a year.
How much will the new program cost?
Well, I'm gonna go on top of that. I can't just go with $8,500 a year because we also have a part-time clerk, payroll clerk that helps with that too. That's cost us about $2,400, almost $2,500 a month. So the software that would eliminate this and add documentation for overtime use and anomalies in the payroll outside of the regular hours. The original one-time cost for solutions implemented is $7,000. The actual software company implementation cost is $4,500, and the first year contract, which is based off employees, we have 100 employees, we figured at $40 an employee, so it's $4,000. That'd be a first year cost of $15,500. And it's $4,000 a year annually after that. Now, with just the cost of the savings of our first deputies of $8,500, that takes almost half of that right there.
So you're gonna spend $27,000 on something, you're spending $11,000 per year now, so you're gonna take about almost 3 years to pay it off. Are you outsourcing it?
I'm sorry, where are you getting that number at?
You just said 7,045 and 15, so that's,
No, I was giving you the breakdown of the total implementation cost for the first year with the first year contract is $15,500.
that's total. Okay, well
That's
then
the
what's the
first-
45 and 7,000?
Well, the $4,500 is a one-time implementation cost from RT Vision, and the $7,000 is a one-time cost from Solutions that's included in that $15,500
All
total.
right.
So the
So it'd be
first year-
$15,500 the first year.
Okay.
The second year would be $4,000, third year would be $4,000, and it would continue at $4,000.
So what would this bring to, I mean, you break down the time, but what would it bring to, say, the department heads? Would it benefit anybody else? Would this program benefit anybody else? Like, would it make it easier to enter payroll?
For them, yes, because we'd
For
be
the
one
department
system.
heads?
Yes, because
Okay.
they'd all have one system we'd be entering in, we'd be consistent throughout the whole government organization. We wouldn't have individual islands of information that we're combining in the office. It would also remove the human error of transposing information from the department to the auditor's office, which is a common and consistent problem, which interrupts employees' paychecks and having to adjust them and fix things after the fact, which is not a good benefit for any employee that's working for us.
So
They should be
basically,
paid
it'd be
fully,
one-
accurately the first time.
So basically, it'd be one entry. They enter in the information once,
Correct.
and it would never be touched again
Correct.
unless there was a change.
Unless there was a change.
Okay.
Or there was an error in the report when we ran it before we submitted the payroll.
Okay.
And then we also have the ability to track overtime. In the departments, we need to track overtime in. There's some departments, that's the department head's issue, that we expect overtime, but there's departments that we have overtime being used that we don't expect overtime and did not budget. And then the huge cost is the loss of staff hours. We have that part-time and the full-time, spending all this time doing it. Now, one of my suggestions with the part-time position is open, I would forego filling that for a few months until we get a better understanding of what's going on in the office. We can assess the needs of the office and how we should apply that. So you're gonna save about $2,500 a month for, let's say we keep that open 3 months. That takes care of the initial cost of the savings of our clerk, right there.
Do you think this system could replace the part-time clerk?
I don't know that. And like I said, again, I'm way too early in this process of assessing our needs because we haven't even uncovered looking at everything yet. This is a very small snapshot that I've done,
Because you've only been here for
a few days. I had to do something when I couldn't sit down in an office, so I went around and did this. So that's where this list came from. And then, you have the loss of staff availability for other mission critical tasks that we can be refocusing them on. And, the minimal cost of printing and paper and just the annoyance of using our lease up on a printer, how many copies you get. Because they're printing all those employees every 2 weeks, sometimes multiple times. and it's just a waste. So there is a contract in your package that I know you have to send off to get approved and for your discussion.
We have to review it. That's our current policy for new stuff, is that it comes to the board for discussion first before we consider a resolution.
Right.
So that's why we're having on, I appreciate you including that in the packet, so we have more information on that. But yeah.
Okay. So then our last two kind of tie in with each other. Discussing the employee's handbook and department staffing. A lot of my issues with the handbook were, again, when I first opened up, lack of control, oversight, and ability to enforce policies that you intend to create, but there's so many workarounds you can drive a bus through. And just looking at some of our non-overtime departments, I noticed one outlier in one of those departments across the county where you had a single employee working over 400 hours overtime for the last 3 years. You look at all the other employees in that same department that have the same ability to do the same work, and the total of all those employees was 1 hour of overtime. That cost you about $50,000 a year. I cannot find any documentation of pre-approval of the overtime, which the handbook states, but the handbook doesn't state how it needs to be pre-approved. You also have the direct reporting issues in some areas where you just don't have the daily control of work. You also have some departments where we can change the hours to avoid overtime by splitting the shifts. Instead of having everybody here at the same time, you move the department, you spread out the employees over a longer period of time, so you have people on site to deal with stuff early in the morning before things open. You have people stay after things are closed. Then, when you divide those people up, they don't go to lunch together. Their lunches, so we have continuous continuity of services throughout the government. So there's just some different approaches. You have, and this is where I'm going to get weak on here.
So is this all of these things are going through solutions?
No?
No, these are just changes in policies.
Yeah,
It's on the
but-
handbook right now. Let's
I,
talk about the handbook.
yeah, all right. I'm a little confused. Keep going.
You don't have any policy for flex time. You don't have any policy for distribution of overtime. If you have multiple employees in a department, and one's getting almost $18,000 a year overtime, and others are getting zero, there's a distribution of work problem you have going on. And just a lack of oversight, complete lack of oversight.
And I'm thinking budgets, we probably haven't budgeted.
I only looked in non-budgeted areas where you did not have any overtime budgeted. So all this money's out of your pocket. This is overruns.
Oh,
Yeah, I did not
So
look
this
at any
must be-
department that authorizes overtime on a regular basis, like the sheriff's office or secondary roads. This is, or ambulance. This is all non-overtime departments.
oh,
There's no budget for this money, and it's being spent at a pretty alarming rate.
okay.
Your workman's comp policy is horrible and incomplete. The county's missing out on money because there's no policy on how that should be handled.
What do you mean by?
Well, how do you handle an employee if they're on workman's comp? And do they get overtime that week? Don't they? Do they get reimbursed? When they get reimbursed, does that come to the county? Does that come to the employee? Does the employee pay it back? How are you paying them? There's a lot of questions that are unanswered and I can't get straight answers on. So that's a whole area that needs to be addressed. You also have,
To avoid double dipping, is that what you're saying?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Then overtime, on the comp time, you guys max out at 40. I would suggest that you allow them to carry a 40-hour balance from year to year. And work up to 40, and let's say like an employee has 39 hours of overtime and they work an hour of overtime. Well, that'd be an hour and a half comp time, so that'd put them at 40.5. So you would allow that event that caused overtime to let them carry a little over. And I would let them carry that as long as they want to. Because it's to the county's advantage to let the employee carry that from year to year. Because they're earning it on a lower pay rate. And if they choose not to use it during that time when they're on that pay rate, they're going to use it on a time when they're at a 3% or 5% raise for the next year.
Isn't that a pretty big payout in the end?
It is a payout, and it's a lot of work to do those at the end of the year every year.
And that payout, how do we budget for those big payouts?
I don't know, because I haven't got that far. I would suggest you allow it carry over. And I'm a firm believer in allowing employees to have comp time, because things come up. Especially if you have kids and that, your sports teams around here are very successful, and a lot of parents have kids involved, and at the beginning of the year, you don't plan your kids going to the state for an event. So have that bank, they can grab 4 hours to get out of work to get to the town and watch a game.
How long are you gonna let them bank it?
I'll let them keep 40 hours on it would be my suggestion. After that, they gotta take overtime.
So then we don't have to pay it out at, okay,
That's correct.
okay. Well, that'll make it easier for budgeting
And for payroll,
after payroll.
and for the employee, because they don't have to use it up at the end of the year, use it or lose it. Then you have surges in the whole government infrastructure trying to take time off those last days of the week. And we already know government disappears about Thanksgiving and doesn't come back until after the Super Bowl, the way it is. So anything we do to minimize that is good. So, and that covers into,
So it looks like you, something about remote training. You want to talk about that? now,
Yeah.
or-
Where do you see that on the
Discuss
agenda?
repurchases.
Oh, I see it, I'm sorry, yeah.
where do we have the remote training at?
Number four.
Okay, the remote training is just a request for hours through solutions since I'm new and our deputies in office need some additional training on how to fix some of the solutions and how to navigate the software. It's just a request for 8 hours of training in a bucket that we can reach out and get.
So that was that $1,120.
Yes. And so we're gonna try to use that jointly. So myself and 1 or 2 of the other deputies will get trained at the same time. We'll all experience the training, then we'll be given homework. What I don't want to happen is all 3 of us use it individually and take 6 hours instead of 2 hours. So we'll try to use this conservative, but that's something that's gonna be reoccurring and as we go through and find stuff.
So this is just this request is just a blanket?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have it on the books so we can use it when we need it, when we call up.
So it won't be all be used at once. Could we, since we have that time already with Solutions monthly, is that all being
Well,
used?
that's
or-
different. So there's 2 different solutions contracts. He's talking about the software, the proprietary software training. That's managed services. That's where they come out to the 8 hours they come out. That's completely 2 different departments that come.
Yeah.
So that'd be my best recommendation, and that's something that's gonna be not reoccurring, but we'll come back to fill it up as we need it, as the training's needed, or the help, troubleshooting they provide online, because it's been pretty taxing with some of the things we've encountered that we have to deal with. So we just need to have that in our handbag of things, tools to use.
So do you have one more thing to talk about, or is that it?
I believe that's it. I know I'm missing things in the handbook because there was like 7 or 8 topics I had.
We usually go with the handbook in August, and then we usually every August we've done.
Yeah.
Right,
so
there's
coming up.
definitely some overhaul that needs to be happening, and it needs to happen before, because it's not gonna be a 1 week, 2 week fix, it's a lot of things that need to be addressed, because they work together. And when you change something in one policy, it changes another policy.
Yeah, so to Diane's point, we normally do that in July or August, and we haven't done it, so we're due. So I think some of these recommendations, I think, are a good one. We'll probably see some savings there, which would be great. And maybe we can realize that next year. This unbudgeted amounts that are being spent, that concerns me. That's probably why we had to do budget amendments so many times throughout the year. So, thank you for letting us know about that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
That's pretty good in less than 2 weeks worth of work.
I've been the first week.
First week worth of work. So, yeah.
So we need overall, we need work sessions on this handbook. I've noticed a lot of things in there too that aren't current or accurate.
So we can schedule that as a work session. So,
Okay.
thank you, Matthew.
You're welcome. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you, Matt.